Hey friends, it's me. Just getting ready for all of your Core Ked meetings as we get ready to start the year, and just some things just to put on your radar. In the email, you will see a bunch of different stories and links. Those are going to come into play as we go, but know that some of those, check them all out. They're a little bit of a choose your own adventure type of thing. If one thing is going to work better than another, stick with that. Don't be afraid to ditch stuff, and also don't be afraid to just add your own stuff. But the whole purpose of a Core Kid meeting is really just to start the year with an initial group of kids who really want to make their Young Life Club or their Wildlife Club or Capernaum or Young Lives their own. And the way that we're going to talk about club for the year is kind of in the sense of like, this is no longer yours. Everything about club now for you is actually for every other kid that's there. Um, we want to pull back the curtains on everything that we do at club, from why do we collect club cards to why do we sing songs to do skits to games to have a talk. We want them to understand all of those nuances so that they can actually help us. That in the middle of a talk, when we've got core kids who have heard this talk before, heard this Bible story, that they're not just texting away and distracting all the other kids around them, but that they actually up their game and listen more intently and are telling other kids to get off their phones, because they understand that for a kid that's never heard the gospel that's sitting in the room, they really need to hear it. And so all of those are in the notes of just how we expose and talk about why we do those things. One thing I love to do at the beginning, and we just have stolen this idea from other areas that have done it, but essentially is the idea that you will you'll start by saying, who invited you? Who invited you to club? How did you end up here? And help them identify people's names. And I think it's such a great visionary piece for us as leaders to go, somebody once invited you to come, and because of that you're here tonight. For many of them, because of that, you are following Jesus today. There's a lot of other kids out there like who need you to invite them. And in a year, 2 years from now, it would be so fun for you to get a text from me saying, "Hey, they talked about you tonight," and then take some time to talk about who were the kids that invited them, and do make a note of who those kids are. And then if you have their numbers, text them afterwards and say, "By the way, they talked about you tonight. Thanks for inviting kids into the kingdom." So, other than that, there's some other things that you can do, and again, you can do whatever ideas you like. At the high school level, we usually make a club T-shirt. And that is just, for some reason, when you give a kid a T-shirt, they feel like, oh, I'm officially a part of something. So if they feel like they can design their own, that's always really fun for them. If there are things, you can do things like have lists of what have been your favorite games, favorite skits, favorite things that you've seen. That way, as a leadership team, you just know what works. Also, just a great idea to have a sheet of paper on a wall that just says, what ideas do you have? And maybe they'll know how to engage Instagram better, or how to invite kids better, places your team should be doing contact at work at better, all that kind of stuff. So harvest ideas, cast a big vision that club is no longer about them. Go through some of these smaller points, and then the last couple things I will note are just ways that you can end or even add things in between. The butterfly circus is that video that we show at New Leader Training. I think just a really cool picture of how the kingdom of heaven works, especially for people who are outcasts, which is all of us. You can use that John C. Riley video, which is a YouTube link called "Are You Anyone's Favorite Person?" I think it just creates a lot of space to talk about how many people in our world, like, they look fine and normal, but nobody cares about them. And how many kids is that true of in our community? There's another one. You can pull the scene from the end of Lord of the Rings Two Towers, where Sam and Frodo are walking through the woods, and at one point Sam turns to Frodo and he says, "Do you think they'll ever tell stories about us?" And again, use that as that same platform to go, will they talk about you someday? When we have this same meeting in a year or two, and we say, who invited you? Will they talk about you? Will they talk about your story? And then the last couple things, some actual physical stories that you can just share and read. There's the Life Saving Station, which is in our new leader training manual. It just talks about, we can kind of make holy huddles of Christians, or we can really spread out and really be concerned about lost kids. So that's kind of a fun one for kids to read. The Cy Burris and Jerry Kirk story is just a cool story about prayer and how praying for big things is amazing, just to watch God do what He does. The story of Burr Nichols is one of the first Young Life kids in the first Young Life Club, and just an amazing story of a kid who got invited and came, and it changed his life. And then the last one is just a little simple one called "Thanks for the Bread," and it's just a story of an invitation to go to church, actually. So anyway, use any or all of those to your advantage. Go through those notes. If you have any questions as you peruse those things, go for it. Know that this meeting actually is not club at all. It's really a night where you're just pulling your core kids together to talk about the future. And yeah, and I think that's it. Call me with whatever questions you have, and have fun. See ya.